Okay, welcome back to my Let's Play of Disco Elysium on the PC. Things are... I guess you'd say they're looking up. They're looking up for us in this strange world. We have some very solid lead on who the murderer was of our hanged man. We found our badge, and we're on our way to get our gun. Some lady bought it. From the pawn shop where I sold it during my drunken haze. And this Everard guy tracked it down. And we're on our way to grab it. Supposedly. Let me just... yeah, she's called the Pigs. Pretending to be a police officer. Old Fish Market at 2200. Okay. So we're a little early for that. Let's take this stuffed bird to Gart. He might appreciate that. And we're pretty close to level up and get another point into Handeye Coordination and maybe try and solve this bullet problem.
Can I help you?
Gart, I found a new bird for the whirling. What is this thing? The man takes the stuffed bird. I wanted to apologize for breaking the great skua by bringing you this ruffled grouse. Okay. He inspects the bird somewhat suspiciously, then mellows. Okay, well, this is actually a nice bird. A competent piece of taxidermy. I can fix it to the plaque and have a new bird in the establishment, I guess. He hesitates. So, I don't know. Thank you? I'm gonna go with thank you. People just don't know how to accept gifts, especially taxidermy. He likes it. He likes the bird. It solves his broken bird problem. I feel good about our work here today, the lieutenant nods. It's all about the little things, like bringing people random stuffed animals. It's not actually about that, but he liked it. About my bill for tonight. Here's the money. Oh, wait, fuck! Damn it, I have that place in the... Fuck it. Damn it, I completely forgot about my shack. Damn it. Okay. Let's look at what else we can do. We've got a task with Joyce. The mirror. In my room? This empty cassette case. What's up with that? Use your chain cutters to fix the faucet. Okay, well I gotta put the chain cutters back in. 17%. We can boost that though, we got some stuff. That might be it. Could very well be it. Alright. 28. Nope. Alright, well, you know, we tried. Okay, Joyce. The map wall, which that seems to be bugged. I don't know what's going on with that. And then some physical stuff that I really don't think I can do. So, fuck it. Let's go talk to Joyce again. We haven't talked to her in a while. We can tell her all about what Everard Clare is planning. We can rat on him. He even told us we could, because it doesn't matter. He's got sort of a watchman. I've already set my plan in motion 30 minutes ago type. He doesn't care. We'll see about that. Hold on. Whoa, what have we here? A bridge? A bridge with loose nails and rotten-infested wood that creaks in the wind. Construction code violation if there ever was one. Kim, it looks like we've got a construction code violation. Lieutenant looks around. True, they never clean up the war damage. The rest of Revachol looks better, though. Lieutenant, think about the splinters. The bridge is fine enough. Locals use it all the time, after all. It's nothing to worry about. He adjusts his glasses. Shall we? Great. I'm glad I brought that to his attention. Oh no! Went to the village on the coast, officer. See you there. Joyce, says the note on the post. Why would she go to the village? That's a shithole. That's where my shack is. So I know how much of a shithole it is. And more annoying, we have to run all the way over there. Got any of those phasmids? No. Answer's no. Through the broken glass, dusty shelves, and a forgotten chair. You don't say. A chair. Didn't I go in here? How about this? Oh! +1 to Kingdom of Conscience. Tailored trousers in light brown, moderate in every aspect. They're absolutely unremarkable. In other words, perfect. Moralist pants. Great. See dust-covered linens, dried tulips on a bed. Actually, those pants might look good. Not with those boots. Okay, now we're talking. Although... God damn it. Oh, God, the fashion Elysium is falling apart. Okay, with a scarf. Okay, that's not bad. The gloves sort of piss me off. Yeah, the gloves sort of piss me off. It might be better to go gloveless. That's sort of a sharp look, I think. Sort of. Yeah, I kind of like that. Sure. These are some wonderfully regular pants. Not too tight, not too loose, moderate in every sense. They'll blend right in at some pleasant dinner party. I like regular, normal things. I know you do. These interinsulary pants are like wearing a perfect compromise in your nether regions. No one will call the moral intern on you like this, that's for sure. You're a little more moralist now, buddy. A little more normal, even if you didn't want to. It's all about looking good, though. Don't you understand? Erect. Alright, well, we leveled up. Hand-eye coordination. What? Oh no! My motoric skill, it's capped out. Don't you have to take drugs for that? I thought there was something you could speed bottle. Alright. Try some speed. Mamma mia. Okay. Okay. Oh god. Kim, I did a little speed. I hope you don't mind. It was for professional reasons. I'm not your mother. He avoids your gaze. I don't care. Do what you have to do. As long as you remain functional, he thinks. Now let's get back to work. Feels great. Are there any downsides to this at all? To this, you kidding? There are downsides to not being on it. There are massive downsides. It's a potent neurotoxin. You're turning yourself into a frayed idiot. Cool, cool. Let's boogie. Boom. Look at that. 5. We're solving this bullet right here, right now. 42%. God damn it! I'm gonna have to keep taking speed. Fuck. And now the ship's all the way over there. That bullet's a tough nut to crack.
I'll just keep the cordially in the channel if that's okay. It's too shallow near the pier.
She winds the mooring line around a post.
Aye, ma'am. And it's a jetty, by the way.
Of course, jetty. I prefer a good jetty to a pier any day. Jetty.
Whoa, whoa. What's the difference between a jetty and a pier? I mean, who says jetty around these parts? Jetty. A landing stage or small pier at which boats can dock or be moored. So, the definition of jetty includes the word pier, meaning it's a fucking pier. I don't... I guess if it's just a small pier, it's a jetty. It's like a kitten compared to a cat or something. I don't know. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, detectives.
She fastens the end of the line around the post and straightens her back.
It's good to see you here. I only just arrived myself.
What brings you here, madame?
Nothing, really. I've had my eye on this jetty for weeks now. So I decided to investigate it personally. This cluster of buildings isn't on any of the official maps, as far as I can tell.
That, she's also keeping an eye on you. Have you been spying on us?
Spying has such a negative connotation. I did track your progress along the coast, however, and decided I would be better able to assist you from here. Then there's the matter of that little scamp in old lady clothes. She threatened to paint the Cordelie red, like blood, you see. Well, I like it the way it is. White.
White. White. So how do you like it here?
How do I like it?
She casts her gaze toward the village, slush melting on the cinder blocks, construction work left half-finished 10 years ago. Water drips down eaves of eternite. The jetty below her feet creaks to the tune.
It's pornographically poor. The street has no name. All the men are dead or missing. And is that the carcass of a motor carriage over there?
She squints her eyes.
I'm surprised that woman hasn't put me to the sword yet. Maybe she will. You should ask your questions while you can.
White? Dark eyes survey the coast leading up to Martinez. Dull gray metal rests in her scabbard. A sword. The wind is too loud for her to hear.
Fortunately for you, madame, the RCM is on the scene.
Alright, politics time. Let's react. I don't know what I would... What should I say? You're right to be scared. This is all your fault. Maybe. She leans against the railing, looking up at the gray sky. Above you, there forms a quilt of altocumulus clouds, twisting into each other. The wind tugs and stretches them over the bay. Their cloud shadows slide over the ruins of Revachol West. Wherever they pass, the temperature drops slightly but perceptibly. It's early spring and the rains are coming. An officer enters a low hut of stone and wood. Inside, weapons are piled against the walls. Rifles with splintering stocks, and swords. Tens, if not hundreds. They're antiques, says Lieutenant John, the archetype McCoy to his partner. They're digging them up from the catacombs now, fixing them. Old caches from the Revolution. The children carry them up. Come May, the streets will be flooded. Outside, the wind rattles the loose hatches. Flooded with cheap weapons, in angry hands. Have I told you how they discovered this place? The wind picks up. Her raincoat flaps in the gust. This fishing village? No, the Insulindian Isola. What is an Isola exactly? I'm guessing you don't know then. No, you haven't told me how they found it. Well, your condition has left you no worse off than most of these people. The literacy rate is around 45% west of the river. 50 years of occupation have left these people in an oblivion of poverty. Say nothing. It's a pity. Most of these people will never know what this place means, this island of matter, or why they were ferried over in the first place. Remind me to tell you one day. She corrects the scarf around her neck. For now, how can I assist you in this new location? Tell me something else, then. Of course, you have singled out a suspect and are in pursuit. This is cause for cautious optimism. How can I help you at this juncture? I spoke with the lorryman at the roundabout. Yes, my eyes in the harbor have sent word to that effect. What have you discovered? Wait, where exactly are these eyes located? Doesn't really matter, and I do apologize for the surveillance. Wild Pines can't afford to be blind at a time like this. One of the tall buildings overlooking the roundabout, most likely. I would give them a read on the entire quarter. In any case, it's a relief to know someone has looked into it. If I may ask, will there be an official investigation? I assume you discovered there is an operation. If there is an investigation, it will be part of an ongoing operation, subject to confidentiality. I'm sure you understand. Of course, Detective, she says, her tone more cautious suddenly. In any case, you've held up your end of our arrangement. I trust you with the rest. Now it's my turn. I wouldn't normally break protocol like this, but the situation demands it. If you don't solve this murder, I'm afraid we may have a bloodbath on our hands. What was that about a bloodbath? Yes, I'm afraid this strike may descend into a small-scale civil war, with possible consequences for all of Revachol West. Since you're sharing, ma'am, this is also the RCM's worst-case scenario. Then we're on the same page, as grim as it may be. I've already heard about a connection between the lynching and strike, but I need your testimony. I have an indirect role to play, I'm sad to say. My employer experienced a momentary lapse of faith in me. In that moment, they elected to deploy a private military contractor as an insurance measure. They called it my security detail. Do you need a security detail? Absolutely not. These mercenaries are muscle, pure and simple. They are meant to intimidate the Union into surrendering. Who are they exactly? Krenel, an Oranges military company. As far as I know, 3 arrived in Martinez. They report to me sporadically, but they do not answer to me. To be frank, our relationship is deteriorating. They wear ceramic armor, have semi-automatic weapons, and years of combat experience. They also have trauma and stressor disorder and no idea how to conduct themselves in an urban civilian environment. So what happened? The story is one of them, the Colonel, I don't know his real name, sexually assaulted a local woman while he was drunk and separated from his unit. This allowed some of the more militant Union members to subdue him. He was taken out behind the Whirlington rags and lynched last Sunday night. What then? Nothing. Mr. Clare refuses to let me into the harbor. I have not been able to discuss this matter with anyone there. The remaining 2 Krenel contractors carry out their orders. For now. For now. It's a smokescreen. In secret, they are conducting an independent military tribunal into the lynching. Once this investigation is concluded, executions will follow. What is the nature of this so-called investigation? Whether to execute one, some, or all the Union militants. Investigation upon investigation, here in Martinez, racing towards some dark deadline. You've made a mess here. It was the Union who strung him from that tree. A wave crashes against the side of the boat. My hope is that you provide a single concrete suspect before Krenel indiscriminately picks theirs. Simply put, she leans against the wooden planks. If you don't pin this on someone good, and do it fast, they will identify and execute everyone present at the lynching. This, in turn, will force the Union to respond. The debardeurs have over 2,000 men. It will be 1,000 to 1. Have you ever seen a hornet invade a beehive, Lieutenant? She leans back. It's not pretty. The Ceres giant hornet, the world's second largest insect, can kill 40 honeybees a minute, while a group of 30 can decimate an entire hive of 20,000 bees in less than 4 hours. These men work in tandem using semi and fully automatic firearms. Their armor is virtually impenetrable to muzzle-loaded weapons, even yours. Most Union workers don't have guns at all. The muzzle-loaders need to be reloaded after every 1 or 2 shots. The automatics every 1 or 2 minutes. She is silent for a moment, then concludes. As I said, a bloodbath. Isn't this a pretty bleak scenario you're describing? Many bleak scenarios have already come true. She looks at you, eyes damp from the wind. Nameless, badgeless detective of the citizens' militia. All we can do is keep the rest from going the same way. One single, concrete suspect delivered into civil court, and I may be able to defuse this situation. What can you tell me about Krenel? Not much. Their public resume is relatively good, as far as private military contractors go. I believe they were once called Downwell. They boast a long list of clients. St. Baptiste, Welshman Lawrence, Endracht. A warning sign, however. The operations concerned all take place in 3rd or 4th world countries, guarding facilities, escort missions, and such. Meaning they're used to operating in war zones. Yes, all the good conflict corridors. Supramundi, Yisit, the Semines Islands. Countries that don't have a good record reporting atrocious military conduct on their soil. Okay, anything else you got on them? Sadly, no. Before this happened, I had little interest in them. Now that I do, I don't have the resources, she thinks. If you still have access to the ICP's database, you could run a better background check than I ever could. It may take some time, though, she thinks. You know a lot about the inner workings of the RCM and ICP, ma'am. In my line of work, it pays to do your research. I was prepared to deal with the RCM. I did not think I would be dealing with a group like Krenel. Did you contact the company? Tell them to call them off. I have, and they will. However, these orders take time to reach what is basically a rogue unit out in the field here. Until they do, it's all on us. She's being truthful. She's pressing them as hard as she can. You said the deceased assaulted a woman. Or he didn't, she tilts her head. This is information passed on to me from some teenagers loitering around the canal. I cannot testify by it. Who did the passing on, then? The remaining contractors. Their tribunal. It's what they believe. What did these teenagers by the canal say? That the man was killed because he assaulted a local woman. I've asked around a bit. This seems to be the accepted story around Martinez. This does not come as news to us, but still, he exchanges a glance with you. To your knowledge, where did this assault take place, if you know? Last Sunday night at the Whirling in Rags, the hostel by the gates. Supposedly, the colonel was drunk, maybe on narcotics, too. Either way, he's alleged to have sexually assaulted a woman. Sometime later, a group of dock workers got their hands on him. How much do we want to let on to Joyce? Not much at all. We don't trust this bitch. She says white. And who was this woman? It's a good question, officer. I don't have the slightest idea. As I said, it's a rumor about a rumor. In any case, it's what the colonel's remaining colleagues believe. This colonel, the one who was hanged, did you know him? If you mean did I see him alive, yes, but I did not know him. His name was Lely, his service name. A nom de guerre, most likely. He wouldn't divulge his first name. Only one of them did. A bad sign if there ever was one. Tell me about the others first. One is a man. Cordy, they call him. A nickname as well. The other is a woman. Phyllis DePaul. Cordy is the gunner, I believe. DePaul is a radio operator. Lieutenant cuts in. What would you say was his eye color? The deceased. She closes her eyes, trying to picture the man's face, then shakes her head. I can't remember. There's a pang of regret to her voice. Lieutenant was testing her, asking a small detail first to see if she knew him better than she let on. She passed. That's alright, ma'am. Anything else? Nationality? What would you say was his age? He was 40 or 50. It's hard to say which. He had a combat injury on his lower jaw. It made it difficult to estimate his age or gauge his facial expressions. This matches the dental reconstruction we saw on the body, and Clausier also mentioned it, I believe. He says to you, then turns back to Joyce. What else? Nationality? Accent? He was Occidental, I think. Light brown hair, mixed accent. Orangez or Messinian, maybe. His injury gave him an accent all his own. In a way, it was humanizing. He had to learn to speak through it, through the injury. She nods. That's all I know, I guess. I only met him once. Where are the remaining two mercs now? They've gone to ground, as it were. I don't recommend seeking them out. She raises a cautionary finger. For one, they're likely to be armed to the teeth. They don't have the same respect for the Revachol citizens' militia as I do. To put it bluntly, they think you're vigilantes, ghetto savages. It will not be a fruitful meeting. We still need to know where they are. You're likely to run into them eventually. When that happens, I'll be in a better position to mediate if I don't appear involved. Where are these mercenaries? One is obviously the scab leader at the harbor gates, the one chanting the idiotic slogans. He's barely maintaining his disguise. The other has a vantage point in a building, south of the roundabout. They were keeping tabs on you while you were canvassing the lorry drivers. One must be the goon in ill-fitting work clothes by the harbor gates, the scab leader. That may be so. She's poised and unperturbed. I still hope you heed my advice. There's no need to kick the hornet's nest. For all your talk of averting this catastrophe, the situation at the gates is a powder keg. Does this not bother you? Of course it bothers me, Lieutenant, but my hands are tied. How would my employer react if it appeared I were intervening on behalf of the Union? Your concern may be appearances. Ours is keeping the peace. One is probably in a building overlooking the roundabout. That would afford a good vantage point, she says. In any case, it's practically inaccessible. Where's your radio for contacting them, if I may ask? Do you have an earpiece? Heavens, no, I'm not an undercover agent. There's a shortwave at the ship's wheel. She nods toward the sloop's cabin. How much time do we have? Until the executions start? Truthfully, I don't know. It depends on their progress identifying the members of the lynch mob, and their impatience. They don't report their progress to you? Not on this matter. I'm afraid they consider this a personal initiative. There's a brief silence. Seagulls squawk over the bay. It's a matter of days, not weeks. Okay. I have a photo of the victim's tattoos. She reaches for the photo, takes it, then holds it in her hand for about half a minute, in silence. It is taken with a Trigat not long ago. This is the man's upper body. There were no more markings on his hands or legs. Stay quiet. Observe the woman's expression. Her mouth is relaxed. The accordion lines near her mouth vanish. The pearls of her eyes move slowly on the photo's surface. What do you think? Sorry, she breaks her concentration. I was trying to see if I can read the web of interdependencies between these points. The stars. She points to one on the photo paper. I can't, but that's how you read this story. The points themselves don't have letters, numbers, anything. Their size, location on the body, and distance from each other tells you what they represent. Like vias on a microcircuit. Close, she nods. Port cities. This is an Oranges map of the waterways, a sailor's tattoo worn by wayfarers of the DeLorean century over 300 years ago. The sailors would mark their bodies to map their travels. What is the use of this map? The sailor's soul would use it to fly back home if they should die abroad. This is a sort of contraption to be reeled back in by. The silver cord, they would call it. What travels did the dead man make? Quite a few. Redefort, the Oranges capital, traditionally stands on the right shoulder. She points to it on the photo. He started somewhere near here, I think. What next? Then he made his way to the Preto Grande, though through what I think must be Stadskanal, an artificial channel through the Occident. From the Preto, he sailed to the Insulindic Ocean. First the Seminoles Islands, then this. She points to his heart. What's that? Revachol, she says. Those are the two constants. Redefort on the shoulder and Revachol on the heart. They started the tradition of these maps right after the discovery of Insulind, the dawn of the interinsular age. The old world passing by and the new world already here. You said you can't read it. I can't. This man was no sailor, and these are no ports. I can understand geographic fragments, but not their meaning. Somewhere in an office lit by a single green desk lamp, Captain Ptolemaeus Price, 58, bald and spectacled, is writing in a ledger on his desk. Rows and rows of days and weeks, laconic remarks in a single column. Patrol, case, vacation, injured. In Martinez looking into Krenel, he writes in one. Then the man puts down his pen and rubs his temples with both hands. Outside there's a siren, distant gunshots on the streets of the Jamrock Quarter. Redefort? Redefort has a military academy. The Seminoles Islands saw a recent conflict. In Revachol, he was executed. This man is no brother of mine, but this is his service history. That makes sense to me. We have no more use for a map of the waterways, just like we don't need sailors the way we used to. This is what the custom would morph into on the Occident. Mercenary tattoos. For all the boys looking for adventure. A blood spatter on the seas. Who could tell me more? His platoon members? The other contractors, though I do not suggest you go and show them that picture. This man was their friend and comrade. I need the information. Do what you have to do, detective. I don't think deciphering that tattoo should come before public security. But if you should wade into the mob to find out, I couldn't stop you. We'll be careful, ma'am. I've talked to Everard Clare. You have? She smiles carefully. And how did you like Mr. Clare? He's a bloated rainbow socialist. Oh, come on now. He has his uses. How else would he have stayed in power all these years? Or wait, actually, she answers her own question. Corruption, that's how he's done it. Fantastic, worm-like corruption reaching into the bowels of the earth. She looks at the ground and nods. The position of my unusual colleague does not reflect official policy. I hope you understand. The RCM does not pick sides. Of course, and I don't expect you to share anything he told you with me. I'm not a corrupt worm myself. She turns to you. However, if you felt like discussing something, how could I stop you? Are we not human? Are we not curious to hear another person's take? It's only natural. We would only be, she smiles, gossiping. Intellectually speaking, it would be quite interesting to hear what she has to say about these things. Bam, this whole thing is a takeover. This is what you're about to say when a cold streak runs through your heart. Once said, there's no going back, Harry. Oh boy. There's still reality-based knowledge. Mr. Everard's helping me find my gun. Oh, her eyes become large and round. That's so helpful of him. Lieutenant looks at you and you can swear his jaw muscle is trembling. When I said be wacky, I didn't mean wildly, grossly irresponsible and damaging to the RCM. Unconventional police officers sometimes lose their guns. They then go around and tell people about this to gauge their reactions. It's all part of detecting. Incredible, she shakes her head. Simply incredible. And how is it going? Has this detecting produced a gun? Mr. Everhart says it's almost ready to be found soon. Did he now? Her eyes narrow. Well then, it should be any day now. Unless, of course, he's lying to you. Anyway, was there anything else you've heard? Perhaps he is. He asked me to open a door. A referral, you mean? I take it this was for someone in the RCM. She waves her hand. Don't answer that. No, I mean like a real door to someone's house. Oh my, a real door. The lieutenant does not say anything, but you hear the nylon of his jacket rustle as he looks at you. It had to be done. I got information. It was useful to the case. That's good to hear, Detective. Police work is rarely pretty, but it sounds like you did what you had to do. Her bartering mind cannot fathom that you didn't ask anything in return. Frankly, what was done was not pretty at all, but neither was it illegal, and it was not for nothing. He turns to you. I advise you to be very selective with what information you choose to share. This may have consequences beyond our line of sight. Yeah, I mean, how can you know? How can you know? And why would I guess, why should I tell her anything? What do I get out of it? That's all I've got to say. I don't want to talk to you about anything. I found my badge, though. By love you did. She inspects the piece of blue plastic, her eyes scanning from left to right. She's memorizing your badge number. She hands it back to you. Pleased to meet you, Lieutenant W. Frater Dubois. I'm glad to see a man of high qualification. The situation is precarious. Seaweed drips from the badge in your hand. It smells of fish. Alright. Now, yeah. Hand-eye coordination. What happens if I take more speed? Okay, seems I can't get it over 5. So we're really just banking. But that won't let me redo it. No, fuck. So I can never do that. I mean, maybe something else will open up the skill check. But otherwise... What if I take... Oh, no, I can't. Just keep taking it. Shit. Shit out of luck with this bullet. Fuck. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, what happened with that skill check?
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Okay. I don't remember where the conceptualization skill check comes in. Uh-huh. I don't know. I'm probably fucking some stuff up here by jumping through dialogue options, trying to get back to this conceptualization. Oh boy, there's a lot of dialogue in this game. Oh wait, reality? Oh, there we go. 97%. Jamais vu thought complete. What is all of this? The scent, the sound, the air. What world is this? What world? The fading pearls of her eyes look to the sea. The only one, I suppose. The world of matter and its pale antipode. The camera of her mind glides over the surface of the water. What do you see? Great bodies of water, forest-covered surfaces, clusters of light where the cities lie. You've seen the montage, we all have. This world is enough, she concludes. It must be. This is the greatest and kindest arrangement the atoms had in them. The best of all possible worlds. Indeed. Indeed, there is a term of endearment they coined for it. In the DeLorean century, when humanity was high on this world, discovering more and more of it, these archipelagos included. What is it? Elysium. Elysium. The world needs a term of endearment. It does. There are those who would call it hell. What is hell? A term of hatred that originates, like many such things, with the Mangg petrofascists. Don't feel like I haven't gotten the whole picture yet. Oh, you want a picture of the world? She raises her finger to her lips. There is no complete set yet, dear. They're having some trouble reaching orbit. How come? Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside, sideways. How about it's a ball? That's looking less and less likely, Detective. You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the ORG nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s. ORG, Occident Revachol Grad. There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three, they're piecing together a dark gray corona. A dark gray corona? Yes, she pauses. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are gray flares and prominences, even arcs above entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago. A cold fear seeps into you. Oh my god, wait, what the hell are you telling me? You seem to be spooked. Please don't be. Her voice becomes homely, calm. She lets a moment pass. The pale. What do you mean corona? They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet. Or to speak more plainly, imagine vast swaths of land disrupted by nothingness. I'm sorry, dear. She looks around. It must sound quite terrifying through the acute encephalopathy. Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here. But this is one of the great questions of our time. Maybe when they get to the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together, however naive it may sound. A fractured corona doesn't feel like it's going to bring anyone together. You have misimagined it. I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below low orbit. It's... She looks up. It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it. Well, if you say it's disco. See? Everyone finds something worth holding on to in this world, however wasted its opportunities. The cold seeps into you. The air is heavy with 80% humidity. Suddenly you're conscious of yourself standing there on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides. Lieutenant observes you both, silently. He adjusts his glasses. You said pale. What is pale? The pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality. Yes, Lieutenant looks at his watch. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. We do have a case to attend to. Of course, Lieutenant. She bows and turns to you. Let's try something else. I don't want to. I want to know what the pale is. I don't think your colleague would appreciate that. He's already been so patient with this whole exercise. Let's continue with something else, alright? She leans against the railing. You can ask about anything else in the world. Anything. But she wants to tell you. You can sneak back later when he's not around, unless you can convince him to step aside. Ask for Kim to step away while you discuss the Pale. Is what you want to do, but should you? He expressly stated you shouldn't hear about it. What if it renders you mad, or catatonic, or makes you lose your memory again? Yes? Alright. Damn it. Now I got another thing I gotta pass with it. Actually, hold up. I got a skill point right here to put right into volition. Bada bing, bada boom!
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Good idea. Just ask him. He won't make a scene. Kim, can I talk to the man alone for a second? Fine. He steps away with his notes. See? What can he do? You're a grown man. Now, what is the Pale? Are you sure you're sure? Your colleague seemed adamant. Yes, what is the Pale? Okay, she concedes. The Pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the Isolas. It is the interinsulary mass. What is an Isola? Isola is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the Pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7. Mundi, Sol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulin. And Insulin is an oceanic isola. I don't know if it's isola or isola. I don't know. It's a made-up word, I think. It comprises mostly of water. Mundi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulin the bluest. What can I say? She stops. Each is perishing and dear. Okay, what is the Pale like? Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The Pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness. The negation of being. The negation of... That's right, the negation of being. She tightens her hood around her neck. It's cold outside. Is it here? No, Detective, we're safe. She points at the sea. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isola. As you gaze, it instinctively turns north. A small black pit opens up in your stomach. 6,000 kilometers from the end of the world. Yes, that is enough. Many cities are built much closer. And there? An uproar of matter, darling, rising into the Pale, rolling, evaporating even, a great vision. The area of transition between the world and the Pale is called porch collapse. Imagine a gray coronal mist, cold vapor, marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism, a mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's... She closes her eyes and breathes out heavily. The most disco thing you will ever see. What are its physical qualities? It's difficult to describe, or even measure, something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension. Right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible. There's a slippery article in there. Is it the Pale or Pale? Pale when it's particular, this territory of Pale. The Pale when it's pale in its entirety. Once you've seen it, she tosses her head. Language balks at the difference. If we're surrounded by Pale, how do you get from Isola to Isola? Oh, it is... Her lungs deflate. Her words sound like a sigh. So difficult for us. It is possible to force dimensions on the Pale. In modern times, you can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it's still hard for humans to navigate the Pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged. Oh, the warp! The Pale can damage the mind? Extensively. How? Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others, the Pale somehow consists of past information that's degrading. That it's rarefied past, not rarefied matter. They call it the blend over of the self. The Pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past. Who says and who argues? The logical positivists say the dialectical materialists argue. What does this over-radiation feel like? It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of Pale exposure per year. It's more for her. Way more. You're not a civilian passenger. No, Lieutenant Dubois. I'm Entroponetic Business Class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of Pale transit annually. Perhaps that explains her strange pining after the revolution. Some degraded early memories. Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. The strange gray-haired woman in her lorry. Do lorry drivers pass the Pale? Yes, carried in the hulls of airships, she nods. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon. You should ask the Pale driver about this. See what she says. That poor woman must have stories to tell like you wouldn't imagine. Are you over-radiated? Up to my gills, officer. What is entroponetic? Entroponetics, she corrects, is the scientific study of the Pale, or a recent iteration of it, by way of Grodd. The study of the Pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Paracarnassians called it the Western Plain. They had not traveled the entire circumference of the Paracarnassian Superinsula. It was not merely in the west, it was everywhere, even then, surrounding them. Did they cross it, the Western Plain? There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the Pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation. Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years. Dude, it's the fucking warp. What has entroponetics changed then? Nothing. We remain powerless before the Pale. The only real advance in Pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later. Aerostatic craft. Hybrid airships, detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended, once you've crossed from near Pale to far Pale. In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end, if we throw them precisely. If we do not, then they don't. Gone, like a skipping stone beneath the surface. How much Pale is there compared to the world? The Pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There's more Pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping. Slipping how? To our detriment, or... What do you think, detective? She looks him in the eye. It's growing. There's more and more of the Pale. Precisely. One of the few measurable effects of the Pale is that it's expanding at an unknown rate. An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the Pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists. Not extreme at all. It's going to happen. Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge. I suggest you do the same. Off we go. You see the hangman's mouth open. Off we go into the wild Pale yonder. One and all, she closes her eyes. They say Pale is death, but for the universe. Why should we just leave and the world get left behind? Is this the first time you hear this? Do you really not remember anything? I sometimes sense vague shadows of a past, and it's not good. Then tell me, what do you think of the Pale? The advance can only be stopped with immediate, total, ruthless communism. It will end all life. Her eyes tense. Crow's feet radiate from them. She observes you, your bloodshot eyes and swollen face. You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, detective. If you didn't even know this, then... She stops mid-sentence. I'll handle it. It's under control. I hope so, I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague, Kitsuragi. I ran a check on him, and he's very competent. In the meanwhile... Some of that assurance is meant for herself as much as it's meant for you. She must have a lot on the line here. You have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time. She gives you a slight bow. Good, Lieutenant returns. You have not passed out from it. Perhaps I worried for nothing. Are we still on the reality lowdown, or should we actually do police work now? That was fucking insane, Kim. Yes, well... He thinks, the rest of us have dealt with it for thousands of years, so... He looks around, a little uncomfortable now. You'll have to deal with it too, Lieutenant thinks. This is why I didn't want you to know. Let's get to work. Tremble. The time is now. Blah, blah. What time? Time for the show. For blah, blah. The hallowed time of fear and disintegration. Countdown has begun. All will collapse on itself. The world will disappear into a single grain of blackness. All sound will be muted. All life will scream. What's that? Okay. When did this countdown begin? Monday morning, the moment you arrived in this reality. You are the first crack in the sheer face of God. From you it will spread. This is because of the insane world ending I've been saying, isn't it? Yes, you spoke the words of the blah 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 in the houses of Paracarnassus. Items, people, even words will tumble. All will lose its meaning in the coming years. This is why you marked yourself. Am I sure it's not just a joke or some kind of coping mechanism? It's totally also a coping mechanism. I'm a little afraid. So you should be. The world island crumbles at your feet and in the far plain. Blah, blah, blah. Perhaps, just a thought, this has something to do with the hangover. I do think the world might end soon. The face of the woman fractures. There will be herd killing. We all become vapor. Nice. Top of the apocalypse. You woke up in a hotel room and started rambling about the end of the world. It's not your normal everyday doom crying either. Something truly colossal is approaching. The gloaming, the culling, the bloodletting of unimaginable proportions. Until now, you've been pleasantly vague about the precise nature of this cataclysm. No more. Put the bloodletting on the burner and really figure out what's threatening the fragile physical reality you just found yourself in. Okay. Alright. Dude, that's pretty crazy. Alright, we'll leave it off here. We didn't get to our gun yet, but next time, for sure. My name is Mangg. Game you're watching has been Disco Elysium. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.